Hey y'all, and welcome back to Tab Space. So, if you haven't noticed, your girl has been mentally going through a bit of a time. And during that time, I made some realizations about myself, about people around me, just about everything. And it just came to me, this brilliant idea that I have to now share with y'all because, that's what I like to do. So, I'm going to start a new segment called Tab's Bipolar Survival Guide because the last 3 to 4 days, I've been in a very depressive state, been looking on the negative outlook of life. And this being a major part of my disorder, my bipolar disorder, I've been experiencing depression and manic symptoms since I was 16 years old. So there are times where they start to feel very routine. It starts to feel like you've been through this a million times already. Brace yourself for what's to come. But, we don't know what's going to come of this episode. We never know what's going to come of any episode. So this last episode that I experienced, I was put into a major funk for a multitude of reasons. But the main one is due to internalization. Rather than expressing my frustrations with people and situations, I've internalized it, attempting to be the strong person in the room. Where I thought that was getting me, I don't know. I have to practice what I preach. I tell y'all to put your mental health first. I tell y'all all sorts of things that I fail to do myself from time to time. And one thing that I was failing to do was also introspectively looking at my part in my own suffering. So, tip 1 of Tab's Bipolar Survival Guide. If you're in a depressive or a manic state, whatever ideation that you have, let's use the 72-hour rule. If you feel very strongly about a situation and you're either manic or very depressed, I want you to try sitting on it for, I'll say, 48 to 72 hours. Whatever you're upset about, I want you to sit on that thing and don't speak on it until that time period has passed, at least, or until you've gained clarity on the situation. Because I saw myself going down a very dark path with a specific situation where I was about to crash out. And I think that due to the lack of understanding and clarity of our own emotions when we're in a depressive or a manic state, we tend to crash out, and we tend to be known as the crash outs, the crazy person in a situation, because we can't understand that we are going through mental deception and our brain is what is tricking us. I learned one day in a bipolar support group, something that stuck with me and my father was, when you are in a manic state, your mind is playing a trick on you. Now, being as spiritual as I'm becoming, I'm understanding that maybe, just maybe, that's the devil's deception. So when we're in these manic states, we say and do things that are not of us whatsoever. But we tend to discredit how little of ourselves we are when we are depressed. When I'm depressed, I have no motivation. I look at everything half empty. I am very quick to anger. I am very quick to banish people from my life and do it hastily. Maybe ghosting a person, maybe just straight up going off on them and blocking them before they even get the opportunity to say anything. Neither one of those are effective communication skills or styles, nor do they get me anywhere in life other than left with regrets, wishing that I had not done that, wishing that I had not gone off of impulse. But because I'm so emotionally elated, whether it's a negative emotionally elated or a positively emotionally elated, I can't see the trees through the forest or the forest through the trees, if that makes sense. And maybe, just maybe, the ideation comes from a valid place. Maybe there are certain situations that are not the best for you for multiple different reasons. But maybe completely withdrawing from those situations is not a good thing for you in the long run. But because your brain is telling you, cut it off. You don't need this. You don't need them. You got this by yourself. You go off that impulse, and next thing you know, you don't have people in your life that actually were bringing you value. So, I say all this, I lay out this segment, I do all of this to say, tip 1, if we're emotionally elated in any way, shape, or form, if we're depressed or if we're manic, no matter which end of the spectrum we're at, whatever we feel is contributing to that, and we can it's a tangible, it's a person, it's a place, it's a thing, and we feel as though we need to cut that thing out, or we need to go off and crash out, or whatever the case may be, whatever we feel like we got to do due to this mood, I ask that you sit on it. I use 72 hours and 48 hours as beginning milestones because usually, for me anyway, it takes at least that long for me to sit on an issue. Because I cannot think about a problem 24 hours a day. I would go crazy doing that. But when I get the opportunity to sit down and really think about that thing and be intentional about thinking about that thing, that's when I can really sit down and understand the crux of it. Really understand, is this a manic delusion? Is this a depressive? I wouldn't call depressive like the negativity that comes from depression delusion. I don't know what I would call that. But is this negativity from my depression, or is this a delusion from my mania? And I'm going to be honest, when you're depressed, it's very hard to figure out if the reason why you feel a way is because you're depressed. So maybe it's going to take until after you start to fall out of that depression to really sit down and understand the whole picture of a situation. But sit on it. If you're manic or depressed, please sit on it. All right? I want y'all to take that advice into your life if you have bipolar disorder. I want y'all to tell me how it worked for you. And you know what? Even if you don't have bipolar disorder and you're extremely upset about a situation, I want you to try this method. Sit on it. Maybe it's 42 hours, maybe it's 48 hours, maybe it's 24 hours, maybe it's 72 hours, maybe it's a whole week. I'm not going to quantify it by giving you a specific amount of time. So when I say the 72-hour rule, that's just a time frame that's fairly reasonable. That's in between a day and a week. I don't know how long it's going to take you to figure it out. You might figure it out within a few hours. You might figure it out within one day. Who knows? But that said, try it out. Get in my comments. Let me know what you think, what it did for you, if it brought you clarity, if you feel like this is a strategy that you can use in your life moving forward. Because I'll tell you one thing, I don't think I'll ever not use this strategy moving forward now that I've come to this breakthrough. And that's why I had to share it with y'all. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And I hope that you enjoyed episode 1, tip 1 of Taz's Bipolar Survival Guide. See y'all.